In college, Frank D. Murphy was a star player for Kansas State University. In the NFL, he played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Miami Dolphins, the Houston Texans, and the Chicago Bears. Now he mentors athletes all over the world through the Frank D. Murphy Charities. Your host of Athletes with Purpose, Frank D. Murphy.
Welcome to the Athlete with Purpose Show. I'm your host, Frank D. Murphy. The AWP show is to create a faith-based culture of role models to enter the sports arena as leaders, not followers. We even go behind the scene and get real life stories so you get answers and not just ask questions. Today on the AWP show, we'll be talking about when hard work pays off. Now, it's time for Locker Room Talk.
Locker Room Talk.
In the locker room today, I'll be talking about the NFL. They gave former players for concussion $765 million. Now, the players was asking for $2 billion. Now, I want to get your opinion. Hit me up at awpsport@gmail.com. I need to know, do you think that number was fair? Hey, it's Murph time.
Murph's Moments.
My Murph moment of the day is when I waste a lot of money while I was playing in the NFL. And the reason why, because I didn't have financial knowledge or financial wisdom of what to do with my money. But I'm here to tell you, when I got that financial advisor on my team and he began to share wisdom with me and I began to read, now I find myself in a better position when it came to finance. You know what? Let's get into the plays of the day. Play today 1, the pain from success. No knowledge, financial loss, pride. Play today 2, reaching your goal, earning respect, leading by example, and financial gain. Well, when we return, I want you to meet my friend and hear his story, his testimony, how he made it in the financial world. He turned nothing into something. His name is Nate Scott, and I'll see you when I return on the Athlete with Purpose Show. Welcome back to the Athlete with Purpose Show. I'm your host, Frank D. Murphy, and as promised, I'm here with my friend, Nate Scott. How you doing, Nate?
Doing well, thank you.
Doing good, doing good. Well, man, I like to do a little icebreaker, man, how we first met. Could you take me through that the first time we met?
Man, beautiful day. I'd done some research. I came across your site on Facebook, and in turn just sent you a Facebook request. And I'm always about meeting positive people, and just was so impressed with the work that you've been doing in the community. Being an athlete, really appreciate guys actually going through that pattern and then actually going forward and after the league doing some positive things, and then more importantly just seeing that you're a man of God. So that really touched me. I'm all about just proper alignment, because I know that if you want to see you in the next 5 years, you got to look at the books you read, but more importantly the people you associate with. And so I sent you a friend request.
And it started from there. So Facebook is a good thing sometimes. Well, you know, before we get into, man, you got some powerful stories to tell. But before we get into that, I want to talk about the Lakers. I want to talk about Kobe Bryant. What you think? You think Kobe's going to come back with a vengeance? He's going to play better? What do you think about Kobe Bryant and his return off of Achilles injury?
Well, you know, a couple things go to mind. The bottom line is, number one, he's a heart of a champion. Yeah. He has that heart. So it's not a question about whether or not he's going to give his very best to come back stronger and better. But reality is, when you have an injury, and I know you know this already, when you have an injury, there's some trepidation, there's some hesitancy in what you're going to do moving forward. And so I truly believe that if he puts in the work, much like Derrick Rose had to do in coming back, that he's going to come back stronger. He's going to come back with an attitude, because he hates going out like he did last year. Right. But regardless of how strong he comes back, I have to take a realization of what's happening right now on the East Coast.
Oh, man.
And in the Miami Heat, we are in the state of champions. And so he can come back strong, but he's going to have his back against the wall. Now,
when you say Miami Heat, see, my director back there, he knows. When you say Miami Heat, I might can be up here all day talking about Miami Heat. But, man, with that being said, you know, he popped his Achilles. I popped my Achilles.
Oh, wow.
And it took me some time to come back. It took me about a year. And I worked my butt off. I gave it all I had to return. I returned the form, and I was still doing my thing out there and racking up on stats. So I know it can be done, especially. I would never doubt Kobe Bryant,
Right.
because like you say, he has a heart of a lion. With that being said, as I said before, you have a great story. But before we get there, I want to know, before we leading up to that, I want to know where you're from.
Frank, I'm from a small town outside of Savannah, Georgia. It's called Effingham County. And I always refer to it as a small redneck town. You
Right.
know, the time in which I grew up, it was my high school mascot were the Rebels. And but a beautiful, beautiful environment to grow up in. Faith-based community. Grew up with my grandparents. My parents divorced at a time which I don't remember when my parents were married. But I will tell you that I've never felt as if I was an at-risk child.
Right.
The relationship that they maintained allowed me to grow up very, very strong and gave me the love that I needed to actually mature. And it's just the country. It's the country.
Hey, let's talk about the country, because the experiences that you had, I'm pretty sure you experienced some racism. How did you deal with that? Because it takes a strong man or a strong woman to be able to put that aside and know how to handle that. That's not something that you just grow up and you get used to. That can put an imprint on your life and put a mark that can't be erased until you really challenge that mark. How did you challenge that mark in a situation that you may have found yourself in growing up in a town like that?
Well, you know, I related to the very first time that it really, I guess, came to my realization that there was a race problem, or there were some limitations that were being set upon me based upon the environment in which I was. And that was in the 5th grade.
Right.
I don't know if you've had this experience before, but many times while in grade school, they'll go around the class and actually ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Right.
I mean, I find myself as a father asking my kids that right now. Well, as they gone around the classroom, people were saying, you know, policemen and firemen and all the traditional things like that. When they got to me, I said president. And that, I felt good about what I said because that's really what I believed was possible.
Right.
And at that point, the teacher looked at me and said, and this was a white male, and he said, you can't be president. Now, I want you to really realize what it felt like to be, I mean, imagine being in a big fishbowl,
right,
and having everything just zoom in on you.
Right, right.
When this person is telling you, you can't do this, when everybody else is being applauded as they're going around saying what they want it to be. And I didn't put it into perspective because I was only in the 5th grade, so I really couldn't tell you what it really meant to me, but all I told you was that just the idea of being told that I couldn't do something really, I'd say, was the ignition for me, the fire that allowed me to go forth and do some other things in my life that I may not have been able to realize what it meant to me at that particular point.
Right.
But I will tell you that since that point, as a 5th grader, I've always been laser focused, always been focused on just giving my very best and proving all my quote-unquote haters wrong.
So basically, you basically want to give a shout out and tell the teacher thank you. Because obviously it took you through a process and motivate you and intrigue you to be something great.
Absolutely.
Those words, as they were said, you processed it, you chewed on it, you swallowed it. After you swallowed it, what was the feeling in your stomach and how did you get that feeling out immediately?
Like I said, first it was just embarrassment.
Right.
And then through embarrassment, it was about doubt. And, you know, we have doubts. You know, we have experiences in our lives where people will say things and don't realize the impact of their words. And I recall that time. And in spite of where I might be at today, I've never lost sight of that one experience, and I monitor the kind of things that I said. And so as I felt the pain, I didn't let the pain hold me back, and I didn't let the pain keep me there. I never allowed that word from that person to hinder me from the things that I was moving forward, because I was thankful that I did grow up in a God-fearing home.
Right.
I did have a faith basis, and so because of that, I learned very early on that whose I was.
Right.
And consequently, it gave me the foundation. And so, like I said, faith is one of those things that you've got to go through things, and that's one of those points early in my life that I realized that it's because of the faith that I had and because of the experiences and the environment that I had that I was equipped to move forward.
Now, I didn't, when they asked me that in class, I didn't say president. I took a liking to sports. Of course, when I was asked to do my work, I can do it with no problem. But at the same time, there was something that excited me about running a ball. Running a ball with that pigskin in your hand and having 20 million plus cheering from the TV, from the stands, from the audience. And that did something to me. And I remember the day at 11 years old, I went outside and was throwing the ball up and imagining that I was running for a touchdown. Now, I didn't know I was going to actually go in the NFL, but you couldn't have told me I wasn't.
Right.
I went on, and I had one of those moments. Because I got into some trouble. I hung around a bad crowd. I made some bad decisions, got incarcerated for about a year. And they told me that my life was over. It's done, Frank. But instead, I took that, and I remember being in jail, walking around the cell, still telling people, I'm going to the NFL.
Wow.
It was like, what is this boy talking about? Do he not know where he's at right now? He's in jail. And really, I was raised in such a way that I really thought, this is not a bad experience.
Right.
This is just a right now. It's not forever.
Wow.
So when I got out, I went on to college, made it, and I'll never forget the scouts looking at me. They looked at me, they say, they're looking up and down at my resume, which is my record for me being in trouble. And they said, son, all 32 scouts, we're not going to draft you. Back in 2000 when I got drafted, the NFL didn't take guys that got in trouble. Now, a felon or nothing like that. If you see now guys that's in the NFL, they get in trouble after they make it to the NFL and get felonies, DUI, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
But they wasn't taking guys. And I went home, my mom said, listen, what God got for you, nobody can take it away.
Praise Him.
And then I got drafted. So, yeah, I always thought about that. Every time I was on a team, I always thought about the teams that said, that guy that said, we can't draft you at a record like that. So I can relate to exactly what you said. It pushes you. It motivates you to be greater. If that incident wouldn't happen, that's a part of my life story. That's a part of your life story. And that takes us to the next level. The next phase of your life, you play sports as well. What sports did you play?
I grew up playing football initially, and basketball became my love.
Right.
I played on through, started in probably in the second grade or so, and then continued to play on through high school. I started thinking about financial independence as a high schooler in 10th grade, and threw myself into athletics. And I threw myself into athletics because I was a good student, but I didn't want to be left out.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that kids oftentimes, especially in the African American community, grow up with is just the peer pressure.
Right.
And so I threw myself into sports. I played football. I played quarterback in football. In basketball, I played point guard, and just enjoyed the experience of competing.
Now, Nick, I want to recall back when we talked. You had to stop playing football. Tell me about why and how you think that impacted your life.
Grew up in a small town, like I said, and in a single-parent home. And one of the things that, like many children, many people growing up would want is a vehicle. Well, I grew up in a place in a time where it wasn't something that was entitled for a child to get a car.
Right.
And my father told me that if I wanted a car, that I'd have to work for it. And so it put me in a place at that stage in my life where I learned about responsibility and learned about making sacrifices and making some decisions. And so I made a decision to drop a sport. Right. And I tell you, in hindsight, it really bothered me because the year that I stopped playing football was the year I was supposed to start. I would have started on defense, and it was the year that we went to state.
Oh, yeah. Hey, that's like when I played for Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I left and took more money and went to Houston, Texas, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won the Super Bowl.
Right.
I was like, you could take this money. Why not I stay?
So I went through that experience, but that was a wonderful experience because it's something about earning. It's something about giving putting your effort into something and actually then reaping the rewards, and not just giving something handed to you.
Right.
And so a typical day for me during my senior year of high school, going through and playing sports and working, was I'd go to school around 7 o'clock, be in school all day. We'd have a game at around 8 o'clock p.m., and then after 8 p.m., around 11 p.m., I'd get to my job. And that job at that time was at a grocery store.
Right.
And I was doing stocking of the shelves. I was a night clerk. And would get off about 9 a.m. on Saturday morning. So imagine that was my life cycle for my senior year.
Man.
I got the car that I wanted. I was responsible. I was becoming a man at that point, and I was learning about responsibility. And that's something that's been with me throughout my life. It allows me not to ever look for any handouts. It allows me to be personally responsible for whatever and wherever I'm at. And tremendous experience. But I didn't have to learn.
That was important part of your life, I see, and I think parents can do a better job than that, doing a trade-off. I call it a trade-off because my kids call me all the time, Dad, these new Carmelo Anthony's out, these new LeBron James. I mean, I get these calls all the time. Probably got a message right now. Okay, what's the price on them? They're $160. What, a pair of shoes? And I'm like, okay, here's the trade-off. In 2 weeks, I got to see your progress report.
That's right.
And I got to see A's. If I see that, we'll talk about it. It's always a trade-off, so I can understand what your dad did, and it's powerful when a person inside your house can put those rules on you and you step up to the plate. You know what? I want to take a time out, and my time out today is Ephesians 6, chapter 6, verse 11. Put on the whole armor of God that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the enemy. Now, I want to explain this to you. When you get saved and you turn your life over to God, you have to go now in his lane. See, the first lane you was in the world. So you wore a different type of armor. But when you go in God's lane, he say put on his armor. And you can't try to wear the world armor while you're being saved. And I just talked about that. That's lukewarm. I want you to understand when you come in God's lane, strip everything off, your thought process and everything you're doing, and let God put on his armor. And then you will find success. Back to what we was talking about, something else happened. That happened, but at the end of the day, you didn't go to college. You went right into the Army. What took place in the Army? You had to go to war. Now, that's pretty huge. Could you talk about that for us?
Yeah, after high school, when my basketball scholarship fell through, I turned down my academic scholarships. I was laser focused on that dream of playing college ball. And I wasn't going to give it up. And so I chose to go into the military to serve in the Army. And soon thereafter, once I got to the military, Operation Desert Shield and then Operation Desert Storm came about. And so at 19, I found myself serving the country. The pivotal point for me was getting that assignment and then making a conscious decision to walk around my room with a video camera and actually creating what I call today a video will. I mean, so imagine, being at that young age when life was supposed to be just the greatest thing, and I was in Germany loving life, being called to actually go and do the job in which I signed up for. And that's the thing, I knew what I had signed up for.
Right.
And so I went around the room and was just videotaping, TVs and clothing and my jewelry and all of those things that are of the world.
Right.
And speaking into the camera and talking to my family and literally saying to them, I don't know if I'm going to make it back. So that fear of the unknown.
Yes.
When you're going through a real world situation like that, and you come to the realization that you have no control over what will or won't be, as I reflect on it, but for the grace of God and knowing that I had that already accepted Christ, gave me some peace.
Right.
But the reality of it is still it was the unknown.
First of all, thank you for what you do for this country, what you did for this country. My brother went to 3 wars, and I can recall all the times that, he would call and say, all right, I'm going again. Man, we hold on. Do they just pick you, or are you choosing to do this? We didn't understand.
Right.
And he had to break it down to him. He said, you know what, this is a duty.
That's right.
At the end of the day, I know what I signed up for, and I got to protect this country. And, man, I take my hat off to people such as yourself that give back in that way. Because, we can give through our charity. We can do all these different things, but you're giving your life. And I think that's something that we have to pay more attention to, especially the outsiders. When we talk on these things, make sure we're talking from love and thankfulness for what you guys do for us. As this story continues, you talked about the fear of the unknown. You get back safely, thank God. But you end up going now to to a college. And then from there, you move on to something greater. After that, you went on to another college, which is one of the top colleges in the nation. Tell me about that.
At 19, again, walking the Vernon during Desert Storm, is when I said, Lord, if you allow me to make it back, I'll never waste a day of my life. The thing that led me to an opportunity that forever shifted my life was that when I did get to Germany and got to my unit, I immediately enrolled in college courses. And as a result of being in college and then playing sports, one of my professors, Miss Renita Minihert, she was married to a West Pointer, and she knew my company commander. And they came together and asked me about going to the academy. Now, Frank, I had no idea what West Point was. Again, I grew up in a small town outside of Savannah, Georgia. But I was piqued by the fact that someone took notice and actually took an interest in me.
Right.
And even though I didn't know what it was, I was thankful for someone said, you know what, I see something in you,
right.
So therefore I'm going to put something in front of you as an opportunity, and if you decide to take it, I'm going to get behind you and push you through. After getting back from Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm, I got the opportunity to go to West Point's prep school, and then from the prep school, on February 26, 1992 at 10:30 a.m., I literally wrote out my goals, and I wrote out a decision matrix deciding whether or not I was going to go to and accept this opportunity to go to the school, and the school is called West Point.
Now, before we go there, we'll be right back. We're going to hear more now. You don't go nowhere. We're going to hear about his experience in one of the top colleges in the nation, and we'll be right back on Athlete with Purpose Show. Welcome back to the Athlete with Purpose Show. I'm your host, Frank D. Murphy, and I want to get back on with Nate what we was talking about West Point, one of the top colleges in the nation. Nate, finish that story.
Yeah, I had a great fortune, tremendous opportunity to go to West Point. West Point is the United States Military Academy. It's the oldest engineering school in the country, dating back to 1802. Our statement, if you will, is that most of the history that we teach was made by the people we taught. Tremendous honor. We call it the Long Gray Line. You got movies and whatnot about it. And an institution steeped with tradition and culture, an honor code. So you're talking about a place of character. And the honor code is a cadet will not lie, cheat, nor steal, nor tolerate those who do. Upon graduating from West Point, each person is then commissioned into the military. Typically the Army, but some people actually go into the Navy or the Air Force, but on a case-by-case basis. So I graduated from there in 1996 with a degree in engineering and sociology, and tremendous experience. And then I branched infantry, so I was an infantry officer, ranger.
And you was a captain, is that correct?
I did, yep. I finished my military time as a captain, and tremendous experience. I finished up in the Old Guard, serving in Arlington National Cemetery, the Tomb of the Unknown. Tremendous history, tremendous time serving this country, and I tell you, to be able to serve the country in the capacity in which I did, I'm forever indebted to have the opportunity to do what I've been able to do and to lead soldiers and to be able to develop outstanding young men and women that also give their time and their service.
Well, I can tell that you're very engaged in what you want to do to give back, and not just give back, also for you to pick up. Because what I learned, a lot of people like to give back, but they don't like to pick up anything, because they become stagnant and think, you know what, I got it all together. I know what I'm doing. And if someone says that, I run, because you can never stop growing. You can never stop reaching. You know, like the old saying, I think it's something like, reach for the stars or reach for the moon and you'll fall to the stars, something like that. But those type of motivational statements really encourage me. And I think some of the things I learned by not only just sitting here with you now, but when we went out to lunch, is that you're not just motivated to give back, you're motivated also to grow continually.
Absolutely.
You had a vision. You had a vision, you had a mission statement you was telling me about, or what you want to do. Could you share that briefly with me?
Yes.
And our audience?
Yeah, my vision was written out in 2007 following going through the White House Fellows program process. And, you know, after I wasn't selected for the program, but I was a finalist, I went away for 7 days to Cancun, Mexico, and I wrote out this vision. And the vision is wellness in the world, spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, and financial. My personal mission is to live each day principled, centered, based upon biblical teachings, and to be a person of value and positive influence. And along that line, I'm working to create a $10 million endowment fund to foster personal growth and development and entrepreneurship.
Right.
The reason this is so important to me is because in 1996, the week that I graduated from West Point, I was introduced to the world of personal growth and development and entrepreneurship via an industry called network marketing, an industry that has created more millionaires than any other industry. And so being able to learn about constant growth, picking up books and going to seminars is something that I feel that if more people got exposed to that earlier on, they can then follow their passion. They can actually do the things that they really are passionate about.
Well, you got a gift for me. Could you let me know what this gift is?
Absolutely. This is a DVD, and it's called The Experience with Nate Scott. And a statement that I say every morning at 6 a.m. for a show that I have as a daily habit call is me teaching people that thoughts lead to feelings, lead to actions, lead to results. And so I'm honored to be able to give you that DVD because you're someone that I'm truly, truly excited about. I love seeing what you do and how you impact the world, and I feel like that DVD is going to bless you.
Thank you. I want to also take a look at this book. It's called Man Behind the Helmet, God of Second Chances, forward by Coach Tony Dungy. You can go to frankdmurphy.com and pick it up. It's a book that encourages you and empower you. Also, my workout DVD, Power Up Your Body, Mind, and Soul. You can get it at powerupbody.com. This right here will take you through a series of workouts and encourage you at the same time. I want to thank Garth and Tina for all they do at TCT. Without them, this show wouldn't be possible, The Athlete with Purpose. Please go to tct.tv and donate. And give something if this program is encouraging you. And I want you to remember this. Not knowing your God-given purpose is like not knowing your name. Many plans are in a man's mind, but it's the Lord's purpose for him that will stand. I'm your host, Frank D. Murphy, and we'll see you back here next time. Hi, my name is Frank Murphy, your celebrity trainer, former NFL player for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You want to learn how to look great, lose weight, and be fit? Well, I got the solution, and it's called the Power Up Your Body, Mind, and Soul DVD.
It was intense. It was an awesome all-around total body workout.
So if you want to be fit and look great, this is your time.
It works every single muscle in your body.
It's fun, exciting, and challenging.
I chose Frank Murphy workouts because it's taken me to the next level in my training. You can only do the treadmill and the elliptical for so long before you need something that's going to push you over the edge.
As your celebrity trainer, through the Power Up Your Body, Mind, and Soul DVD, you will begin to get familiar with your body, mind, and soul like never before.
You know, it's not just sitting in a machine pushing some weight, you're really using your body to do the exercises.
Believe it, claim it, and work it out.
With 3 DVDs for the low price of $24.95. So power up your body at www.powerupbody.com.
You may know me as an athlete, but when you tune into Athletes with Purpose, you'll get to know me as a Christian. My greatest purpose is to tell others about God's love, and hopefully that's your purpose too. Join our team and partner with TCT. With your support, we'll send the message that Jesus Christ paid the ultimate price for our sins, so you don't have to. Send your donations to the address on your screen or go to tct.tv and make your donations online. Thank you.